Um, Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It is an honor for me to deliver Dr. K.K. Ayya lecture. I will be talking on challenges and roadmap for Indian dairying beyond 2021. First slide, you means why dairy sector has become so important in India. Why everyone is talking that future of India for food security is for the lies in the dairy. Why it is like this? These are the 5-6 points. Now it has been realized that crop sector alone cannot provide the nutrition and food for 1.44 billion by 2021-22 next year, and the population will be 1.62 billion by 2050. The reason is that today, if we see 87% farmers are marginal, and they are having marginal and small, they are having either up to 1 hectare land or up 1 to 2 hectare land. And out of these 87% farmers, 40% are most vulnerable, marginalized, and they are food insecure. Our agricultural farms are diverse and unorganized. Despite our all efforts, still 60% land is rain fed. If there is rain, then there will be agriculture. And we know that water table is depleting, soil health is decreasing year by year, input efficiency is very poor, and there is increasing pest and insects, newer threats we are getting every year. So these are the major challenges in crop-based food production system. In addition to this, if we see the per capita land availability, which type of agriculture we want to practice. Per capita land availability in 1971 was 2.41 hectare, which is gradually decreasing. And in 2011, it was only 1.18 hectare per person. And in 2050, it is calculated that per capita more availability would be 0.09 hectare. So which type of agriculture we practice that one person can be fed for a year for 0.09 hectare. So there is always challenge to produce more from less, far more. This will be challenge we will be facing always. And next challenge is that if climate change continue to change as it is being projected, then we will see that by 2050, the maximum adverse effect in productivity of crop sector would be in India. That is it to the tune of 25% less production and productivity, followed by Australia, Brazil, and all these things. And most important thing, that's why dairy sector is becoming more important. There is a significant change in consumption pattern of the consumers. This is the percentage of food expenditure of this block 93, 2004 and 2015. Now you can see that now people are spending less money on food grains. Earlier it was 44% expenditure on food grains. Now in 2015 it has reduced to 31%. However, if you see the dairy product, it is increasing. Fish, egg, meat, similarly it is increasing. Means more and more consumers are turning towards dairy products. That is the one change in the consumer's pattern. And more important, if we talk about the dairy animal, milch animal, more milch animal are in drought-prone region, where people are more marginalized, more food insecure. For example, if we see this red block and blue block, red block is in India and blue block is in the rain-fed region or in drought-prone region, where people are having challenge to keep themselves food secure. For example, if we see today, we are having about 486 lakhs buffalo in milch. Out of that, 380 are in drought-prone region. We are having 114 lakhs crossbred in India. Out of that, 91 milch crossbred black are in drought-prone region. Similarly, if we talk about the indigenous, out of 480 lakhs milch Indian breeds cattle, 344 are in drought-prone. So that is also one of the reasons we are preferring that these peoples are drought-prone region people should be secure for food and nutritional security. More and more milch animal are in those regions. And last one, now people has realized that there is a big potential in milk for nutrition. So this is the potential of milk nutrient for nutritional security. We all know that this is an excellent source of protein, and that too of quality protein and good fat. This protein is bodybuilding. It repairs the damaged muscle very fastly as compared to protein of the grains. It is a good fat, energy-packed fat. Milk is a very important source of calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, iodine, selenium, vitamin A, D, B12, K, all fat-soluble, water-soluble vitamin. And we know the importance of the calcium, that calcium is engaged for improving the bone health, teeth health, and other heart issues. However, now it has been established that it is also controlling the hypertension. It is responsible for balancing the blood pressure. It is useful in colon cancer. Its calcium and vitamin D content, that is a very good thing for milk, calcium, vitamin D, and phosphorus. The calcium and vitamin D, it helps to burn the body calories and it helps to maintain the body weight. That is the most important. While the healthy fat present in the milk help to lower the blood pressure. Milk has carotenoids, and we know that carotenoids act as antioxidant. It improves the vision. Milk is having a short chain fatty acid that we call as butyric acid. And the beauty of this butyric acid is this is the only fatty acid which help in the multiplication of the neuron. Research has been conducted that the children who were deprived with the milk, they are having not well-developed brain. Research has been proved like this. Butyric acid, which is a short chain fatty acid, also helps the regulation of the cell growth and also act as anti-tumor. Milk has lactose, which also help in the development of the brain, plus also it acts as a prebiotic. Prebiotic means food of probiotic. Milk is also having conjugated linoleic acid and omega-3 fatty acid. Although the content of these CLA and omega-3 fatty acid is very high if animal is grass-fed. In addition to that, milk and whey protein, they are having large number of bioactive peptides, which is having series of pharmacological series of therapeutic effects, which I will show in the later slides. So these are the reason that on one side, it has been realized that crop sector will not be able to feed the population with nutrition. On the other hand, milk is having all the nutrition which is required for nutritional security, and more milk animal are in that area which requires more food, more nutrition. Because of this reason, now government has realized, everybody has acknowledged that yes, it is the dairy sector which will be most important for food and nutritional security. So now it has been realized that dairy can improve the food and nutritional security and farmers' income. That's absolutely true. Out of 147 million Indian households, more than 70 million households are dependent directly on dairy for their livelihood. And out of this 70 million, 75% are small, marginal, landless milk producer. They are having the size of animals ranging from 2 to 8 only. There is stability, there is strength in Indian dairy sector. These are the major strength, major stability in the Indian dairy sector. There has been the constant and sustainable growth of dairy sector in India, despite limited investment, either from public sector or from private sector. India is the country which is having the largest livestock population with mega biodiversity. We are having 50 recognized registered cattle breed and 17 recognized registered buffalo breed. India is the largest milk producer country in the world with highest growth, 6.5%. Still, we are having the low production cost. Farm gate price is one of the lowest in India. World largest and leading buffalo germplasm holder. Murrah is the best breed of the buffalo, and India is holder of this breed. When I was at NDRI, at that time, 120 countries has demanded the germplasm of the Murrah buffalo. India is following all the 3 different production systems: zero input, low output, low input, moderate output. Our most of the dairying is following in this category, that is the low input and moderate output. But we are shifting towards intensive input and high output. In national agricultural GDP, up to 30% contribution is from the dairy sector only. And most important thing, everyone talks about the equitable distribution of the land, equitable distribution of the income, milch animal holding is more equitable than land distribution. 87% of the small farmers, as I said, the small and marginal farmers, they are having only 42% of the land. But those farmers are having 78% of the milch animal. So the animal holding has more equitable distribution than land resources. If we see the 20th livestock census, which was in October 2019, these are the 4-5 very salient findings. There was increase in crossbred as well as indigenous female cattle. And because of the increase of crossbred and indigenous female cattle, the milch animal has also increased. This was the salient finding. Crossbred female has increased to the tune of 39%. Indigenous female cattle has increased to the tune of 10%. The number of milch animal has gone up to 6%. However, the total number of indigenous cattle has decreased. Indigenous female has increased, but total number of cattle has increased. As I said in the earlier also, that we are having 50 registered cattle breed and 17 buffalo breeds, and they are selected, they are adopted for the last 100 years in this country. That's why we say that they are the treasure for the Indian dairy sector, 50 cattle breeds and 17 buffalo breeds. So this is in nutshell that crossbred population, which was only giving 7% of the total share in 1992, and now they are occupying 26.5%, and indigenous cattle 93% in 1992, and now it has reduced to 73.5%. So this was the major trend in the last 3 decades in our livestock census. So this is the real picture of milk production. Technology, not number, led milk production. Many people talk that India is the largest milk producer because India is having the largest livestock population. But it is not the number, it is the technology. It was only 17 million ton in 50s, and now it is 198, that is approximately 200 million ton of the milk which country produced in 2019 and 20. So it is total of 22% of the world milk produced in this country. 22% of the world milk is being produced by India. The recommended per capita milk in India by Indian Council of Medical Research, that is the 280 gram per day. And the per capita availability of milk in India is 394 gram per person per day. However, if we see the world average, it is only 229 gram per person per day. Niti Aayog has projected that by 2033-34, the country will be producing 330 million ton of the milk. So this is the technology, not number-led milk production. This is confirmed from this. That's why I always say that in enhancement in milk production in India was led by technology. 1951 was the first livestock census, and 2019 was the last livestock census. In 1951, the cattle population was 155.3 million, which has increased to 192 million. That was 24% increase. In the corresponding time, the buffalo population has increased from 43 million to 109 million. That was 153% increase. So 24% increase in cattle, 153% increase in buffalo led the milk production enhancement from 17 to 198.4. That is 1,167% increase in milk production. It cannot be number driven. It is the technology driven enhancement in milk production. From where, from which animal, from which species this 198 million ton of the milk come? If we see the share wise, 49% of the total milk in India out of 198 million ton is coming from buffalo. Although earlier it was even more than 49, it was even up to 57%. 57% milk was coming from the buffalo. Now it is 49%. Crossbred animal, which occupies 26% of our total cattle population, they are contributing 27%. Indigenous animal, which includes our recognized 50 breeds as well as nondescript, they are contributing 21%. 3% is coming from goat, sheep, camel, and other small ruminants. Now, one thing here, very emphatically, I will like to emphasize that buffalo, which is contributing approximately 50% of the milk, but still we do not have any provision for separate collection of the buffalo milk. So now time has come that we should have a provision for separate collection, separate processing, marketing of the buffalo milk. Which region is contributing in the milk production? Region-wise contribution. Now, if we see the south, this pink color, 20.8%, 21% of total milk in national pool of 198 million is coming from south. That is the Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, and Andhra Pradesh. 30.7% is from North India, 26.6% is from West India, 11.1% is from Eastern, and 9.6 and this 20.8 from south, and this 9.6 I think it is from the northeast. It is mistaken right now. So 21% is coming from the south. And here if we see this data, south region is home of only 13.9% of the total cattle and buffalo population, but it is producing 21% of the total milk. So this is the scenario. 21% is coming from the southern region, 79% is coming from the other part of the country. In south part of the country, we see from where milk is coming. As I said that at national level, 49% is coming from buffalo, but in south part, only it is 41%. At national level, 26% is coming from crossbred, but in South India, 47% of the milk is coming from crossbred and exotic animals. So this is the major difference as compared to the national milk production system. 26 versus 47 contribution of exotic as well as crossbred. This is the projection of Niti Aayog that by 2020 there will be no shortage of milk in this country, and India will be producing more milk as compared to the demand. So this is the milk supply versus demand in India. Red one is the demand, blue one is the supply. In 2021, this year, for example, 2020 data, 174 million ton milk was required and we produced 194 to 98. In 2021, picture will be like this. In 2021, country will be requiring 246 million ton of the milk and the milk production will be 276 million. The present growth rate in dairy sector is 6.5% and it requires growth up to 7.8% to achieve the target, and target for 2025 will be 240 million ton of the milk. So in nutshell, what I want to say that milk supply versus demand in India will always be in the positive. There will be positive correlation. We will be having more supply than our demand. Per capita milk availability, because of the highest milk production in the world, the per capita milk availability, if we see in different states. In India, in totality, if we see it is 394 gram per person per day. But if we see Punjab and Haryana, they have crossed the 1 liter per person per day, followed by Rajasthan, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Jammu, Kashmir, Uttar Pradesh. These are these southern states, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, although they are having per capita availability more than the world average, but still it is slightly lower than the national average of 394 gram per person per day. In Karnataka, it is 344. In Tamil Nadu, it is 322. And in Kerala, it is 189. These are the major milk producing country having per capita availability of the milk. So there has been the glorious journey of Indian dairy sector. Dairy sector is growing faster than any other agricultural sector. And by 2020, this subsector is predicted to produce approximately half of the total agricultural output. In 2018 and 19, when the growth in milk production in world was 1.3%, In India, it was 4.2%. In early 70s, if we see the data, this I have analyzed, that in early 70s, India's milk production was only 1/3 of the US and 1/8 of the European countries. And what is the status today? It is twice of the US and 25% more than European Union. So this has been the success, glorious journey of the Indian dairy sector. Now, this is very important segment in the box of red color. I will read it. Milk is India's largest agricultural commodities. The value of milk is more than the total value of all grains, wheat, rice, maize, plus all pulses put together. And this is the data of Government of India of 2019 and 20. Comparison, if you see, the value of milk in 2019 and 20 was more than 8 lakhs crore, while the value of all grains and pulses was only 4.5 lakhs crores. This is very encouraging data for the dairy sector, that the value of only milk is approximately 2-fold higher than the value of all grains and pulses produced in this country. Today, white revolution contribution is surpassing the contribution of green revolution. Every 4th to 5th rupees which is generated from farm sector is coming only from the milk. Now, few more important points about the glorious journey of the processing, especially. Now, this I have analyzed that during lockdown due to COVID-19, that time it starts from the March 19. Unlike most other food items mainly, both producers and consumers prices of the milk and milk products remained stable. So that is very good sign for the dairy sector, that the producer as well as consumer prices of the milk and milk products remain stable, despite we know that there was a significant fall in the demand of the milk and milk products. And this fall was very sharp in the beginning of this March and April 2020. Now, Government of India, when they were announcing their budget, they have identified the dairy sector, animal husbandry sector that can provide livelihood to millions of the rural households. It has been seen that if we are collecting 1 lakh liter of the milk, every 1 lakh liter milk collection from producer reaching to the consumers, it is providing employment to 6,000 households. And out of these 6,000 households, there are 5,000 small households which are providing 20 liters of the milk in an average. And additional 1,000, they are engaged in processing, transporting, distributing, and retailing. So this is the only sector where 1 lakh liter milk collection produced by 5,000 farmers, giving additional employment, livelihood for 1,000 population. This has been appreciated by Government of India. So with all this big story, success story of the dairy sector, these are some challenges of the Indian dairy sector. As I said, that very high population, large number of nondescript population, still 59% of the cattle population is nondescript. We have not classified them as a breed, and their productivity is very low. So low productivity, high population. Dr. Gowda, expert of nutrition, is sitting here. Dr. C.S. Prasad, they know that there is a shortage of feed and fodder. There was shortage, and in future also there will be shortage of feed and fodder. Reproductive diseases and disorders, reproductive disorders and diseases really catastrophic for the dairy sectors. Late sexual maturity of the dairy animals, either it is a male or female, they are having very long maturity age, puberty age. Despite crossbreeding program, despite our artificial insemination, in field condition, indiscriminate breeding is going on. There is a big problem of infertility among crossbred male calf. So number of the calf turning down to the bulls is very less. Poor animal health, we are facing the problem of 3 major diseases in the dairy sector: foot and mouth disease, brucellosis, and mastitis. Although Government of India is having very mega ambitious projects to control FMD and brucellosis. Our recommendation is for including mastitis also in that programs. There is a shortage of vaccine and diagnostic tool. I always give the example of FMD. Approximately 300 million of cattle and buffalo, forget about sheep and goat, will require 600 million doses of the FMD vaccine if we want to vaccinate at 6-month intervals. But the total vaccine available in this country is not more than 380 or 400 million. So there is a shortage of vaccine. There is a microbial contamination. There is always alarm for foodborne zoonotic diseases through milk and milk products. We are facing the problem of tuberculosis and brucellosis. We all know that Mycobacterium bovis, which is the etiology of tuberculosis in bovine, can also cause tuberculosis in human. In many diseases, 20 to 28% of human tuberculosis is not because of Mycobacterium tuberculei, that is the organism of human, but it is because of Mycobacterium bovis, that is the organism of cattle and buffalo. Residue of antimicrobials and pesticides and aflatoxin. Now, dairy sector is being blamed for antimicrobial resistance, and there is reason also for blaming that. So antimicrobial residue, pesticides and aflatoxin in milk and milk products and in our feed and fodder, that is a bigger challenge. There is a big gap between demand and availability of proven male, proven bulls or semen, almost untrained or marginally trained, majority of the AI technician. That is one of the bigger challenges. Our AI technicians are not very well trained. Inadequate cold chain facility, although among all food which are having cold chain facility, dairy sector is at the top, but still we feel that there is an inadequate cold chain facility. Low processing, still large quantity of the milk is going in unorganized market. At present, whatever milk processing plant we are having, most of the processing plant are very old. They require immediate modernization. They require renovation. They are not energy efficient, so we have to make them energy efficient. Lack of assured remunerative prices for producer in many states. I don't talk that it is a pan-India, but in many states, still farmers are not getting remunerative prices. There is a little control over quality in production system. When milk is being collected by cooperative, all care is being taken for the quality, but production system, there is still little control. There is a poor linkage between dairy farmers, academic institutions, poor diffusion of the technology. By a survey, it has been seen that only 5% of the dairy farmers, dairy owner are having access of technology. They are having connection with the academic and research institutions. So these are some challenges which I will like to, we will like to address in future. So these challenges, if we see, this I was explaining, that large number of nondescript and high population with low productivity. Cattle population, if we see the categorization of Indian cattle population, 59% population we have not categorized. They are not as a breed, they are nondescript. Cattle population is the second largest in the world. 15% of the total population are in India, but still 59% are nondescript. The 50 breeds that belongs to only 9.4%. What Dr. Sandhya was saying, Gir, Mehsana, Tharparkar, Kankarej, Malnad, Gittar, Devni, all these things, 50 breeds belong to 9.4%. 10.5% is graded one. Means these nondescript we have improved with the indigenous male germplasm. 20% are crossbred and 0.7% are exotic. Similar picture we will get in buffalo. Indigenous breed, 17 breeds that what we are having, Mehsana, Bhadauri, Murra, Jafrabadi, all 17%. 43 are nondescript. 40 we have improved. 40% we have improved with the help of indigenous breeds. There is no crossbreeding program in the buffalo because, as I said in the beginning, that India is holder of the best buffalo germplasm. Milk productivity, low milk productivity is a major challenge. Just to show that where we stand as compared to USA, UK. This is the milk yield in kg per animal per year. In US, it is more than 10,000. UK, more than 8,000. In India, it is 1,698. So this is the low productivity. Although we are producing highest milk in the world, but as far as productivity is concerned, we rank 93rd in milk productivity. And this productivity is not only in indigenous animal, in all breeds if we see. This is the breed-wise average milk yield per day, productivity per day. Buffalo 6.19, our breed buffalo, our graded buffalo. Non-descript buffalo 4.21. Non-descript cow 4.21. Indian cow, Indian breeds 3.71. Crossbred 7.61. And our exotic cow is 11.5. What we have calculated that crossbred and buffalo, not much difference, 6.19 and 7.61. Then between crossbred and our Indian cow, although twofold approximately, but if we see the lifetime production, there is not much difference. Indian cows, Sahiwal, Gir, Tharparkar, Kankres go for 9, 8 lactation. However, crossbred goes for 3 lactation and 4 lactation. So lifetime production between buffalo cow, Indian cow, as well as crossbred cow, there is not much significant difference. This is the one challenge, bigger challenge. Puberty age, very high puberty age, especially in the buffalo. Murrah is the best germplasm, but we occasionally, we always read in newspaper that best germplasm Murrah is going to the slaughterhouses. Reason is very high puberty age, 33.1 months, approximately 3 years. Means up to 3 years, animal is not attaining the puberty. Farmers are not ready to feed 3 years uneconomical animals. Mehsana Surti may not be as good as Murrah, but still they are having better puberty age. Italian Egyptian, they are having puberty age half of the Murrah breed. So that is the one challenge, that puberty age is very high. Bigger challenge that there are breedable population of cattle and buffalo, but they have never calved even once. Breedable, but not calved even once. For example, today we are having 56.48 million breedable buffalo. Out of that, 7.7 million, approximately 4.18 million, they have never calved even once. Similarly, out of 21.22 breedable crossbred, 1.26, that is 7.8 million, they have never calved. Indigenous cattle, out of 55.34 million, 6.05, that is the 10.7 million, they have never calved. It is a national scenario. When I compared with the southern state, it is almost the same. In South India also, approximately 7%, 7.5% and approximately 10% of buffalo, crossbred and indigenous animal, breedable population, they have never calved. So this is the one challenge, and it has been calculated that if we make these animals to calve even once in their life, there will be jump in milk production to the tune of 10.63 million ton. That is the one challenge which farmers are facing, and we have to address. Farmers are missing the heat. They are not able to detect that animal is in heat. And because of failure of detection of the heat, there is a huge loss. We have calculated that if farmer misses one heat, and then there will be a loss of more than 6,000 rupees. And unfortunately, farmer is having 5 animals and missing one heat in each animal, then there will be 30,000 loss in 21 days. And this is the way of calculation, that if farmer is missing a heat, it means it is missing of opportunity. So there will be delay in calving for 21 days. If calving is delayed for 21 days, then there will be loss of milk for 21 days. And if animal is very average milk producing animal, 5 liter, and then there will be loss of approximately 4,000 rupees for the milk, and then feeding of unproductive animal for 21 days. So it come around 6,195 rupees. So we have to develop this tool so that a farmers does not miss the heat. Additional demand of male germplasm. So whatever semen we are requiring, there is a big gap. Total breedable cattle and buffalo population, we are having around 156 million today. And out of this 156 million, 91 million are in milk, cattle and buffalo both. So if we want that this 91 million should be in milk next year also, then we will be requiring around 180 million cement doses, straw. 180 million straw of cement, because it has been calculated that 2 insemination per conception. The semen straw produced in 2016 and 17, that is the last data which we have, that is the 116 million or 115 million. So because of this gap, 45 million breeded milch animal, they have never covered by AI. So there is a shortage of semen straw to the tune of 66 million. If we assume that 15% animal still go through natural insemination in villages, there is a shortage of approximately 53 million doses of the semen immediately. That is the biggest challenge. Although our national dairy plan is taking care of this one. This is the poor status or current status, you can say, current poor status of artificial insemination in the country. Although there has been big jump in the last 2 decades. 20 years back, if you see, it was only 19 million insemination in whole country. There has been a big jump to the tune of 75.6 million insemination. 75.6 million means theoretically we can say half of the animal will be conceived. 70 means 38 million animal might have been conceived by AI. 2 insemination per conception, 38, 40 million like this. There has been a big jump from 19.8 million insemination per year to 75.6 million insemination, but still there is a big road where we have to travel to cover our all breedable population under artificial insemination. Different states, 76 million is the total AI, but if we see the percentage coverage by different states, state-wise AI coverage in cattle and buffalo.
Yes.
Please mute participants.
If we see the AI coverage percentage-wise, these are the states: Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Manipur, Meghalaya, Sikkim. Their AI coverage is not even 10%. 10 to 20% AI coverage, these are the states which fall under this category. Chhattisgarh, Bihar, 16.1, Jharkhand, Madhya Pradesh, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Rajasthan. 20 to 30%, between 20 to 30%, Maharashtra, 27%, Odisha, Telangana, Tripura, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, these are the states. Then Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, and West Bengal, they are having AI between 30 to 40%. Goa and Gujarat, they are having between 40 to 50%. Between 50 to 60%, more than 50%, Haryana, Karnataka, and Punjab, and above 75%, they are the 2 southern states, that is the Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Kerala is achieving almost 100% AI, but low productivity, low per capita availability. That's why we always say that artificial insemination is not a license for high productivity, high production of the milk. Feed fodder, management, healthcare is also important. If we see overall AI coverage in the country, 76 million covers 29.7% of the total population. Conception rate is 20%. Developed nation coverage is 90% and conception rate is 72%. Feed and fodder, all experts are sitting here, Dr. Gowda, Dr. C.S. Prasad, and all these things. This data, don't go by the data, because this data is of National Dairy Research Institute. NINP might be having a different data. Dry fodder, they calculate that how much is not produced, but how much is available after burning. That's why there is shortage of dry fodder, maybe to tune of 15%, maybe to tune of 39%. Similarly, green fodder and concentrate. What I want to emphasize, that there was shortage, there is shortage, and in future also there will be shortage of the feed and fodder. This 4 point is more important. If we see the area under fodder cultivation, that is the 7.81 million hectare. That is about 4% of the total cultivable area. That is the cultivable area we are having 140 million hectare. So out of 140 million hectare, only fodder is grown on 7.81 million hectare. And this 7.8 million hectare is almost constant for the last 7 decades. 7 to 8 decades means constant. Livestock population has increased, but area under fodder cultivation has not increased. We all know that the 70% of the total recurring cost of dairy goes to the feed and fodder. That's why more emphasis or more responsibility lies on animal nutritionists to support, to help good feeding, good fodder to the animals. What we should support, what we should do, government should make a policy to support the fodder conservation, either in the form of silage or in the form of feeds.
Other participants, please mute. Giri.
Mr. Giri. Yeah, I am trying to mute.
Giri, Mr. Giri, please mute yourself.
Yeah.
Dr. Gowda, you can mute all.
Yeah, I am trying. Yeah.
Okay, so government should make a policy to support the fodder conservation, either in the form of silage or in the form of hay. We should support if someone is taking startup or someone is taking a program for straw management or for straw fortification. We should incentivize fodder and forest production so that farmers are encouraged and area under cultivation of fodder is increased. We should also do research for alternate resources which can provide dry matter, which can provide green fodder, which is the need of the day. And I know that NINP is doing a lot of work on this one, alternate resources of the dry matter and green fodder. There is urgent need that science should come forward for precision animal feeding, for protected protein and fat feeding, so that whatever is being fed, it is being utilized. Ration balancing, area mineral mixture, and bioavailability of nutrients. That is more important. Bioavailability of micronutrient is more important. What we are feeding is not important. What is available to the animals, what are absorbed, will percentage of
Sir, you got mute. Srivastava, sir. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. But yes, sir. Please unmute, sir. Unmute.
It's done. It's done. Go ahead, sir.
So I am not able to move my slides.
Sir, you are muted.
Yeah, please unmute, sir. Your audio should unmute.
No, he is not able to move his slide. He is trying. He is muted and trying to move his slide.
Okay.
Okay, coming back, means nutritionists, animal nutritionists are having big responsibility. They have to do good science for having protected protein, protected fat, for ration balancing, and for area specific mineral mixture, and more important, bioavailability of micronutrient. That is the more important. As a pharmacologist, I realize the importance that it is not important how much we are feeding, what we are feeding. It is important that what is and how much is available to the animals, how it is absorbed, bioavailable micronutrients. So our research is required in that direction. Now, huge economic loss to the animal. As I said that infertility, reproductive disorders, infective diseases, non-infective diseases, and calf mortality are major contributor for economic loss. Out of this, if we see, infertility and other reproductive disorders. 46% of total loss in dairy sector is because of infertility, repeat breeding, metritis, mastitis, or other reproductive disorders. Infective diseases is causing the loss to the tune of 32%. Non-infective diseases, that is the productive diseases, that is the and calf mortality and all these, they are contributing to 22%. What I'm emphasizing, that reproduction is most important. Proper reproduction is most important. That is causing the loss of the dairy sector to the tune of 46%. That's why in National Academy of Dairy Sciences is planning to have a brainstorming session on stress biology. We will be having a brainstorming session. We will be calling the experts and we will be talking about the stress biology. About processing, if we see, because I know that most of the people are from cooperatives, from processing sectors, there has been the welcome trend in milk processing in this year, 19 and 20. In 2017 and 18, if you see, it was this picture, but 19 and 20 latest picture, that out of 198 million ton of the milk, 48% is being consumed as production side, 52% is being transported to non-production side, or means it is going under process. Out of 52%, 20% is going by cooperatives to cooperatives. Private organized sector is handling 30%, and rest 50% is going to unorganized sector. If we compare from the last year, from 2017 and 18, picture is very good. That is the very welcome trend, because in 17 and 18, out of total surplus, 16% was being processed by cooperative, which has increased to 20. 14% was being processed by private, branded, organized private sector, which has reached to 30. 70% was going to unorganized, and now it has reduced to 50%. So it is a welcome trend of the milk processing scenario of 2019 and 20, because more and more milk is going to processing sector. In developed nation, we know that more than 90% of the milk enter in the organized sector, and here it is a 50%. So our dream is that, like developed nation, India also should have 90% of the milk in organized sector. In India, the processing capacity, we know that it is highly skewed towards the Gujarat and some other state. Gujarat is the state where 46% of the total processing of the milk is going on. So this is highly skewed to some state. If we talk about the dairy products and export and import, what are the dairy products and what is the status of export and import? As I said in the previous slide, that out of total marketable surplus, 52% is surplus of the total milk produce. So out of that marketable surplus, out of that 52%, 50% is consumed again as a liquid milk, 35% as a traditional products, and 15% as a western product. So what milk is coming in cooperative and in organized sector, 50% is in milk, liquid milk, 35% traditional products. If we compare the cooperative and private plants, of total collection of the cooperatives, 90% is sold as liquid milk and 10% as product. In contrast to that, of total collection of the private organized plant, 20% is sold as a liquid milk and 80% as a product. So here it is a means message for the cooperative that we wish that more and more milk should go as a value-added products in cooperative also. As far as export import is concerned, Indian export and import is negligible if we compare that how much we are producing and how much we are consuming. It is less than 3 to 4% export. However, in net, India is exporter. Reason is India is not able to export, because in India we apply 40 to 60% of the import tariff for volume. Sorry, why we are not importing more? Because 40 to 60% of the import tariff and more than the volume, if we want to import what is fixed for the SMP and butter. And that mainly we do because to restrict import so that it should not damage, it should not threaten our local dairy. What export we are doing? Maximum export is of butter and other form of the fat and milk powder. And UAE, Bhutan and Turkey is our main exporter. European Union and USA, they are providing very significant subsidies to the farmers if they are exporting their milk products. However, in India, if you want to export something, there is no such incentive. The incentive is very ad hoc and it is limited subsidies. And it is only as and when we are having surplus. That's why our presence in export-import market is negligible. Because of conversion of liquid milk into products, this is the per capita consumption of processed and fresh dairy products. Fresh dairy means milk and processed products per kg per year. For example, if we see the European Union, they are consuming 16.6% of 16.6 kg per year processed one, however, 11.7 fresh. But if you see the India is consuming 23.4 kg per year unprocessed, fresh one, only 3.21, 3.2 is the process. So there is a big scope, big challenge, big roadway for the processing unit, maybe cooperative, maybe organized sector, private sector, that there is a big scope to enhance the processing of the milk to convert into value added product. India ranked 8th in the world for per capita fresh milk consumption. It is 5 times more than the world average consumption. Per capita consumption of processed dairy food is 3rd from the lowest. So we are ranking very high as far as fresh milk is concerned, but we are ranking very low as far as processed dairy product is concerned. Friends, coming to the in what direction we should proceed now. Transformation of dairying in the last 2 decades. Before that, if we see that how dairy has transformed, this 4th point is very important. Growth in milk productivity, that is the yield per animal, has particularly increased in our indigenous local cow. In Sahiwal, Tharparkar, Gir, Kankarej, milk productivity per animal has increased in our local indigenous breed. Number 1, it's an important point. Second, in buffalo also productivity was increased, but in buffalo, growth in milk yield or productivity has been slower than growth in number of animal in milk. So number of animal in milk has increased faster, but productivity has increased but slowly. Third point, in crossbred, the growth in productivity is negligible. Whatever enhancement in milk production in crossbred we got, that we got because of the increase in number in milk, increase of number of animal in milk. Milching animal number has increased. What we plan? Increasing productivity of indigenous cattle and buffalo through selective breeding. I tell you that it is easier to enhance the milk from 3 to 3.5 kg per day than enhancing the milk from 16 to 16.5 kg per day. So we will increase the productivity of indigenous cattle and buffalo by selective breeding. We will select the best germplasm and we will increase the productivity. Increasing productivity of 50% of nondescript cattle and buffalo through grading up. We will grade up 50% of nondescript cattle and buffalo by indigenous breed of cattle and buffalo. We will not use our exotic germplasm. So using indigenous breed known for milk production. Increasing productivity of crossbred through intersame mating with high genetic merit site of the crossbred. However, I say that our both program will continue. Conservation, preservation, upgrading, improvement of indigenous breed will continue because they are the asset for the country. They are having several advantages, not only milk production, but crossbreeding program will also continue. In crossbreeding program, we will not use our recognized breed of the cattle. We will use nondescript, low productive, unproductive animal to improve the milk production. That is very important point. I have written as heading, time to make policy for the government. The reason is that now milk cooperative has approached the government of India to clear their storeroom. We all know, friends, that during lockdown, to help the farmers, many cooperatives, they have entered in those areas also where earlier there were private sector and they were not engaged in the collection of the milk. But because of the lockdown, private sector did not collect, so cooperative entered in those areas, even if they collected the milk from those farmers. So that was a big help from cooperative to the poor farmers, that they collected the milk where earlier private sector was collecting. Because of this reason, at present, cooperative milk union are holding approximately 170,000 ton of SMP, which is approximately 62% more than the same period of 2019. They are also holding 104,000 ton butter, which is again 41% more. They are also having 22,000 ton of ghee, which is again 47% more than the previous year. So many cooperatives, they have approached the government of India that let this stock be clear, and to clear this huge stock, they are asking the incentive to export, and they are asking to start a scheme so that milk powder can be distributed through Anganwadi to school, to hospitals in midday program and all these things. This request has been received, and we also recommended that now government should come forward and government support is required so that inventory of cooperative is liquidated. So milk cooperative inventories require immediate attention. In 2018, from 2018 and 19, from the last 2 years, if you see, the growth in milk collection by cooperative was more than 7%, as I showed in the previous slide also, 7%. But during lockdown, the sale has dropped to the 9%. So the sale was dropped, milk was collected more, so it was stored either as SMP or as a butter, as a ghee. So now there is a need of policy so that it can be cleared, inventory can be cleared. And now again, because in August, we know that from August, there will be calving of the buffalo. So we again, we can see that there will be glut of the milk, which will further deepen our problems. To push up export, what we propose, we all know that there was a committee by PMO, and I was from the animal husbandry sector. So we propose that to push up the export, let us bring the dairy product under the ongoing transport and marketing assistant scheme of agricultural product, TMAS, and let us see that if it comes, it will be very good and our inventory will be cleared. There is a opportunity for dairy sector also. So dairying in India, time to grab the opportunity. We all know that government of India has approved a programs 15,000 crores for establishment of the supply chain, for establishment of the dairy plants. And if this money is being used, we are sure that additional 4 to 5 crores liter of the extra milk will be processed. And if we are collecting, processing, distributing this 5 crore extra milk, then it will give the employment to the 30 lakhs people. As I showed the ratio that out of this 30 lakhs, certainly there will be 25 lakhs farmers who will be providing the milk, and 5 lakhs will be additional who will be involved in the collection, processing and distribution. A good news to the all dairy farmers that in recent measures of government of India, they have included the Kisan credit card facility to the dairy producers also. Earlier, this dairy producers were not eligible to avail the facility of Kisan credit card. But now, if a farmer is having only cow, not having any land, they will be eligible for the Kisan credit card. So Kisan credit card facility to dairy producer, treating milk as agricultural crops and benefiting landless farmer owning only milk animal. It also provides interest subvention of 2% to dairy cooperatives and an additional 2% if there is a prompt repayment of the loan. National Animal Disease Program, as I said earlier, ambitious program of government of India has been started with huge amount, and we know that this FMD and brucellosis is causing loss of 80,000 crore rupees every year. So these were our health, these were strength, our weaknesses, and some plan future roadmap for this one. Now, few myths which is running in the social media about the milk that I will like to clear. The very important one is A1 and A2 milk. It is general perception, maybe wrong. General perception is that A2 is good, A1 is bad. General perception is that our indigenous cow is producing A2 and crossbred is producing A1. To understand this A1 and A2, A1 and A2 milk is only a difference of one amino acid in the sequence of amino acid of the beta casein. We know that casein is having alpha casein, beta casein. Beta casein is a 209 amino acid long chain, and in 209 amino acids at 67th position in A2 protein, there is a proline, and in A1 protein, there is a histidine. So there is only one amino acid change, one amino acid difference in A1 and A2. We have studied NDRI and NVAGR scenario of A1 and A2 native and crossbred animals. Again, I take the background that general perception is that our indigenous is producing A2, our crossbred is producing A1. A2 is good, A1 is bad. But what analysis says that in a comprehensive analysis, animal representing Indian native cattle, exotic cattle, crossbred animal, and Sahiwal, Tharparkar, Gir, Kankrej, Malnad, Gedda, Devni, etc., which contribute 20.6% milk of the country are A1 or A2 milk. All buffalo breeds, Mehsana, Bhadauri, Jafrabadi, Murrah, contribute approximately 50% of the milk, A2 milk. All sheep, goat, camel contributing 3 to 4% of the milk, A2 milk. Coming to the crossbred, the frequency of homozygous A1A1 genotype in our taurine and crossbred breeding bulls, which are being used for insemination, for fertilization, they are low than 0.1%. So there is no chance of A1A1 bull because they are having only 0.1%. HF Jersey crossbred bulls used in AI program also have predominantly A2 type gene. Crossbred cow population from where we are getting the milk, they are having prominent gene A2. So the crossbred milk is also A2 milk. The perception that crossbred is A1, indigenous is A2 is wrong. It is not breed wise, it is area wise. It has been found, if we analyze the literature, we found the same breed is having A2 in one country, but A1 in another country. So it is not only breed wise, it is area wide also. But in our country, our crossbred bulls, which are being used for breeding purposes, are having dominantly A2. As far as homozygosity of A1 genotype is concerned, it is less than 0.1%. Our crossbred lactating female population, they are having predominant A2 gene and their milk is A2. Then what is important point on A1 and A2 which we should carry? There is no sufficient data to confirm that A1 is bad and A2 is good. You know that recently the New Zealand authority has fined the A2 milk company for giving the misleading information. Even if a layman believes that A2 is good and A1 is bad, we should not worry because in India, all milk is A2. All Indian cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat milk are A2. Our all crossbred milk animal are dominated with A2 genes, so their milk is A2. Let us not create panic in society for A1 and A2 milk. Let us not divide the society, consumers, that you are A1 consumer, I am A2 consumers. Yes, there is a need that we can go for branding of our milk as buffalo milk, as I said, as goat milk, as sheep milk, as camel milk. If we are branding our milk as a buffalo milk, it will be a good market opportunity. Our breeding policy will be that we will upgrade, we will improve our indigenous breed for future, for other advantages, not for milk production only. They are less susceptible to many diseases. There are very less incidence of tick-borne diseases, Theileria, Babesia, Trypanosoma, etc. There is less incidence of mastitis, reproductive disorders in our indigenous animal. They are having better feed conversion efficiency as compared to our crossbred animal. So we will upgrade, improve, we will conserve, we will preserve. But crossbreeding program will continue, but with not our recognized milch breed, but it will be to improve our nondescript and low yielding animal. So future science for Indian dairy sector, which is required, and the responsibility is in our shoulder. There is a need of cow side test for diagnosis of subclinical mastitis, for diagnosis of early pregnancy. Lot of work is going on at an NDRI and different places. And there is a need to develop a test which can predict that animal is going to develop the metabolic disorder. We have to develop an electronic nose which help us in the detection of the stress. There is a need to reduce the puberty age in both male and female. Experiment has been done and it has been found that the proper feeding, supplementation with minerals, mineral mixture will reduce the puberty age of male and female both. Technology for sex semen and sex embryo. What technology we have for sexing of the semen is not our technology. We do not know that it will fit exactly to our indigenous animal or not. So there is a need to go for development of this technology for sexing of the semen, sexing of the embryo. As I said that there is a gap between demand and availability of male germ plasm. So we have to meet this gap. Can we develop a tool which can predict the fertility of a bull at calf food level? Then this shortage will be over. We can say the farmers that this calf will prove a good bull, and farmer will pay all attention to keep this calf convert into bull. Time has come that we have to go for genomic selection of the animal, and genomic selection of the animal, what I will emphasize that only not for the milk production, but it should be input efficiency based genomic selection. As there is a shortage of feed and fodder, and there is no scope that we will get additional hectare of the land for fodder production. Livestock population is increasing. We cannot reduce. Although time is there that we have to calculate that what is the carrying capacity of this land in terms of total livestock number. How long we can go for keeping this large number of the animal. But to control that, we have to go for genomic selection, keeping the input efficiency, fodder feed efficiency at the central point. We know that there is a problem of waste disposal of the dairy plant. So environment friendly waste disposal of dairy plant as well as livestock farm. We have to reduce the gap between demand and availability of the vaccines. We have to improve the vaccine technology also. We all know that our non-bovine milk is full of health attributes. There are a lot of biomolecules which are beneficial to the health. We have to explore the full potential. Zoonotic diseases, as I said, that means dairy animals, our healthy dairy animals are carrier of many organisms which are pathogens or which can cause the disease in human being. Listeria monocytogenes, Mycobacterium bovis, Salmonellosis, Brucellosis. So we have to address the zoonotic diseases. AMR, antimicrobial resistance, certainly livestock poultry sector is contributing in AMR, and AMR is the bigger challenge which we have to face in the future. Surprising one point I will tell you that we will not get a single new antibiotic in coming 10 years. For the last 8 years, not a single antibiotics is in the research chain. So that is the major concern, that if AMR will be developed, we are not having new antibiotics, this will be a catastrophe to the human health. Human microbial diversity and manipulation of the human microbes and archaea is the need of the day. Although a lot of work has been done, but it is totally under-studied topic. So we have to explore the full potential of human microbiology so that we can manipulate, we can reduce the methane production, we can enhance the bioavailability of other micronutrient. Again, I come to this ensuring delivery of micronutrient and target site. What we are feeding is not important. How much is reaching to the target site is more important. We have to do research on that one. Last but one slide, some important actionable point if we want to say that what should be. Yes, now by this time it has been realized and acknowledged by everyone, by Government of India, state government, that dairying is a backbone for food and nutrition security of the India. For that, let this concept calf to calving should reach to the farmers. We know that today's calf is tomorrow cow. Milk is the best food, which is full of many nutraceuticals. many pharmacologically active molecules. Let us explore the full potential. Let us create the awareness about the facts and science of the A1 and A2 milk. That A1 and A, there is no difference between A1 and A2 milk. Both are equally good. Let us promote separate collection, processing and marketing of buffalo milk. If we succeed, then it will open a new international business opportunity to the Indian dairy sector. Let us bring more and more milk under organized sector. Chilling capacity has to be doubled by 2027 if we want to bring more milk in the organized sector. Let us promote the collection, procurement, and chilling of the milk to the startup. That will be the need. Let us incentivize the hygienic milk production, increase the testing, infrastructure, and public awareness is more important. It means if poultry industry can give a slogan that Sunday hoya Monday roz khao ande, I think dairy industry should also give a slogan Mangal hoya budh roz piyo doodh. So public awareness going to the consumers is more important at present for the dairy sectors. In summary, if we want to summarize, well, friends, with all these advantages, health advantages, strength, and weaknesses, if we see the future of our dairy sector, overhauling and transformation is required to make the Indian dairy from fragmented to organized, from subsistence type to robust commercial model. We have to convert our dairy farm to economic unit, and our dairy farmer, we have to make them as entrepreneurs. For that, all these 6 technology, either it is animal management technology or productivity reproduction technology, health management, input saving technology, nutrient balance technology, processing technology, all technology has to be infused, has to be injected in our system. As I said that it is only 5% farmer who are having access, availability of the knowledge from the institution or from the research. Thank you very much, friends, for your very patient hearing. Thank you very much.